Hello everybody, I'm Callum, I run Repair Wins, and in the video today I'm going to show you how to fix a charger with damaged strain relief. So you can see here I have a Sony BC-U1 charger, and I've already done the repair because unfortunately my original intro was unusable. But you can see that I've drilled some holes in the housing, put a zip tie through, put some Sugru on, and that's done the job. Obviously it's not just for Sony battery chargers. I mean, you might have a laptop charger, and provided you can get it apart you can use this method. You might very well have some sort of other device where there's a strain relief that's coming out and it's constantly getting pulled back and forth. Eventually the wire end splits or the strain relief fails. It's not safe to go on using it like that. If you're really lucky and the barrel jack's small, you can kind of get some heat shrink tubing over it and then, just set the heat shrink down and you're away. But most of the time it needs to be taken apart and remedial work needs to be carried out. That's what I intend to show you in the video. So stay tuned, I hope you find what's enclosed to be useful, and without any ado I'll move to the next clip. Before getting these things taken apart, it makes most sense to sort of just snip the cable, because we are going to bring it back to about here, cut it, this whole thing needs to be taken apart, and then we're going to solder the remains into the housing. All I need to do then is just cut basically the wire off here, so I'm going to do that. And I'm going to do the same on the other one. You'll notice the cord grip is way too stiff, so that the cable just ends up splitting here. This should be a much softer material. Before we go any further, I'm going to show you an unedited but sped up clip of how these things come apart. So feel around for the screw and eventually you'll find it, so it's about here. And then there's another one up there below the Sony logo. Right, and then I'm going to get a Torx T30 screwdriver, which is probably overkill, but I'm just going to sort of find where the screw is and then dig it in, aim being to break the sticker. So I've broken the sticker there, and then I need to break the sticker here as well, because otherwise you end up with bits of sticker inside the screw. So they're both gone, and then I'm going to use a Torx T3 screwdriver to remove the screw. Then the other screw comes out. Lovely. And in this instance none of the sticker went into the screw head. Once you've done that you need to get the thing apart. So the most obvious place to start is where the damaged bit is, because I've already cut this off and I'm going to be desoldering this. And it's nice because rubber has some give, so I can put the metal tool in here and sort of basically, obviously I'm not looking to punch the tool into the device, but I get the tool and eventually it will sort of give. There we are, look, you heard the pop. And I'm not using silly amounts of force here, you need to be sort of firm but gentle, and then it will start off. So hold it with your thumb, I'm pressing down quite firmly. Get the tool in, and then just sort of, the whole time you want to be trying to separate the two halves. I've got a guitar pick, so I'm going to put that in there. I'll say it's a guitar pick, it's a pry tool, but everyone calls them guitar picks. We're going to go just around, and you'll see they're not actually that hard to get into once you know the process. And once you're in, you just basically lift this piece up, wiggle the board, and it will come free. Don't just wrench them apart, because you've got to unplug this cable here. But when that cable's unplugged, the halves are separate. What we want to do then is desolder the remainder of this sort of cable. So if I bring you up nice and close to the board, and I use this convenient screwdriver, CN02, and then under there it says CN01. So 02 is ground, it's the black wire, and then the white wire is obviously 12 volts. I'm going to apply some good quality flux, and then I'm going to add some fresh solder. So you just clean off the end of the iron, which I've just done out of frame, and then I'll come along, I'll just sort of melt this, and then I'm going to add some solder here. Don't be stingy, add some solder there. Again, don't be stingy. And then what you can be doing is just slowly pulling down on the cable. So I'm going to use my hand to hold on the capacitor, so I'm just pressing on the capacitor, that way this board won't bend. And then I'm going to heat the cable. Oh wow, that's come straight out. And then heat the other end. I was hoping they would both sort of clear the solder out, but it's only done it on the one side. So to remove the old solder, I'm going to use some solder wick. This time I've turned the soldering iron up to 400 degrees Celsius, which is a bit higher than the temperature you would typically work with. But also this is an old iron, it's not the most powerful. I am looking to get an upgrade to it in the near future. But I'm just going to put the solder wick on the top. Again, hold on to the same capacitor, and you can't hold on to the wick for too long obviously, but I just need to put my hand on there to get it started. Right, and then I can try and shift the thing along, come on. and absorb the other solder, and with any luck the hole will clear. And I think I've gotten quite lucky there, because that has actually cleared and it didn't take too much effort to clear it. I'll just make sure I do a proper job. Hold it down for a few more seconds. Back and forth, and then remove that. I'm very happy with that. That's the end result that you're looking for. There's two holes, they're both perfectly clear, and then it's obvious I'm just going to be able to push the new wire straight through and solder it into place. Now that I've removed this piece of wire here, it's time to modify this one so that I can solder it to the board. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this one as a reference piece, and I'm just going to hold this up to here, straighten this one out as best as I can, and then I'll put the wire cutters on. And I know from experience that if I just go past this point, strip that back, remove this, you'll see that the two of them are absolutely identical in length. This might look a bit complex, but all I'm going to do is just separate the strands out and then twist them together. And the way that I know what I'm doing is that I've already done this with the other one off camera. So you just twist them together, make sure they're both about the same length, and then if you can see, the black one is actually slightly longer than the white one. So what I need to do again is just make sure I'm just cutting the white one down a little bit shorter. So I just set this on the top of here. If I just bend this silver one out of the way, I can put the wire cutters on top of there, and then that way I'm lined up in the right spot. I can just cut the difference off. And so now all I've got to do is strip this back and then put a bit of heat shrink tubing over there and set it down. I've just quickly gone and applied the heat shrink tubing off camera. So the black one is ground and the white one is positive 12 volts. All I've got to do now then is just get this thing, take a look at where the connector gets soldered on, and you can see here that there's a plus on this end. Apologies for knocking the camera. And there's a negative on that end. So the wire that's black goes through here and the white wire goes through there. Again, if I bring you nice and close, you can see that besides a little bit of burnt flux, it's looking good. Very quickly, I'm going to cut the excess length off. It's a little bit taller than it needs to be. There we go. In the footage you just saw, I actually soldered it the wrong way around. So I've gone and corrected it off camera, and you can see that here, the white wire is indeed going through the one with the plus, the black wire is going through the one with the minus. Anyway, this thing needs to go back together, and so if I just sort of hold it together like this, you can see there's a fairly obvious problem. It goes together, but how are we going to support the wire? Originally I wanted to just pack it full of Sugru and leave it, but I don't really think there's a good way that I can get it in behind and get the housing closed. So what I decided to do instead, and I've already done it to the other one off camera, is just to lie the wire flat and then take a drill bit, a 3.2mm drill bit, put a hole here, put a hole there, zip tie it down, and then pack this gap with Sugru instead. So that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to show you the process. We've got friend of the channel, 1982's finest, Black & Decker hand drill, with no reverse and no speed control whatsoever, so it's just 100 miles an hour or nothing really. And I'm going to hold this in place, and I'm obviously not punching the hole through, I'm just making a mark. So if I just basically start it off, now I've got a little mark that you can see, and I'm going to make sure the wire's held where I want it, and then make another mark. Doesn't have to be perfect, but another mark above it. Right, now we've got the two marks, so I can just take the board out, because I don't really feel like putting a hole in any one of these components. So the board goes out of the way, and then I can just rest this on the desk, make sure I'm holding on to it. You see what I mean? A million miles an hour on nothing. Right then, off camera, I've gone and cleaned up, and what I'm going to do is just push the zip tie through here. Obviously grab it on the other end, push it on through the other side, pull it up to the top, and then I can get the PCB. Oh, I can't quite set it in place because I need to plug this little cable here in. So I'll just plug the cable in. Make sure it seats fully in the connector. And when the cable's plugged in, lie her down. That goes like that. Make sure the wire goes in between the zip tie. And then this should sit nice and flat. I'm just going to hold on to it and make sure that the switch is still switching, which it is. And now that I'm happy with the position of the switch, I can get the bottom cover and just click it down into place, and that'll hold everything securely. Right, so now that we're held down once more, switch works fine. You can put the wire through here, start the zip tie, and just back and forth, pulling down, making sure the wire's not strained, by the way. And there you go, that is held in place nice and securely. And all I've got to do is put the Sugru here. Just before I put the Sugru on, I'm going to put the 2 screws in the bottom cover. My hands are clean, but I suppose the smart money would just plug it in, see if it comes to life. So I've put it in charge mode. Will it still charge the battery? Right, good news, there's an LED there, so it is still charging the battery. And I'm going to take this out. I'll set it to DC output, and I'm going to get a multimeter and just verify that there's 12 volts coming out of the connector. So the multimeter goes in volts DC. Just wiggle the probes, make sure they're making a good connection. And then, doesn't matter which way around, but generally the ground probe goes on the outside. Positive goes in the middle. And you can see on the screen there, 12.23, 12.24, and so on. So then, this stuff was all over the internet a few years ago. It's called Sugru. If you haven't heard of it, it's a wonder material, although you can kind of tell by how much money this thing costs. 3 packets like this is about £10. So certainly not cheap. Anyway, I've put a bin just out of the way because obviously I need to put the rest of the packaging in there. I'm going to take these 2 plastic pieces off, and then generally you'll only need about half as much as what's in here. And then if I just hold this, we're basically just going to try and fill the gap. So you don't just want to like whack it on, you know, you do want to put a bit of effort into trying to mold it. Make sure obviously it goes down into the hole. And generally you don't want it reaching over the sides and stuff. But if I can just tuck this in around the wire, and it's very forgiving. It doesn't have the nicest smell, but you've got plenty of time to work with it and to get it into a shape that you want. And we're just going to sort of tuck it around the wire and then try and make it nice and smooth, press it down flat, that kind of thing. There we go, so I think I'm happy with that. Doesn't look too bad to me. A tiny bit of it's gotten in the seam, but instead of spending ages and ages and ages trying to pick it out of the seam, I'm basically just going to leave it there. It'll help secure the 2 halves together, if anything. So there we go. All I've got to do now, you can see when I wiggle this, by the way, it's not doing anything to the other end. So all I need to do is just put this in a corner and leave it to set. You obviously don't have to do this, but I just want to cover up the holes that are on the bottom, make it look a bit better. And so what better way to cover the hole, of course, than with a repairwins.com sticker. Bonus points for making it ever so slightly crooked. And the same again with the other one at the top. Lovely. I'd say that's a job well done. I just need to leave this to set. There you have it then, that concludes that. You can see here that the Sugru is set nicely, and obviously I can go on poking it and whatnot. It's been maybe 30 hours and it's set already like stone, and I'm sure that as time goes on it'll set even stronger. So I'm really pleased with that. There's no reason now why these 2 chargers here both can't continue to get used for another 5-10 years, and why they wouldn't carry on working all of that time. Obviously I'll need to tell the business to be careful. You don't want to be yanking and pulling on the wires and stuff, because that's obviously what's caused it to fail in the first place. Of course now there is no cord relief, although the original cord relief wasn't fit for purpose anyway, otherwise it wouldn't have failed, you know, like it did. The point is though, as long as I tell the business, be careful when you're using this thing, don't stretch it out to its limits like a Hoover cord, it's really not designed for that. Then it'll carry on working and they'll be able to use it for a very long time. So I hope you found the video useful. If you did, then feel free to leave a like, that helps me out. It recommends the video to more people watch. I gain subscribers, videos get even more recommendation, and then obviously the repair message gets spread further, and that's exactly what we want. That way more people fix their own things, like this PlayStation 5 PCB. Myself, for example, I'm always in need of clothing repairs, and besides the very basic needle and thread jobs, I can't do them. I don't even know how to thread a sewing machine. There's no SIM card in that phone, and I don't have home internet. So I'm going to need to go away and do some digging, but the point is I'm trying to improve my repair skills too. I took on 5 PS5 controllers for free, and I've just shown you the one, because that's for a charity. I don't normally do sort of free jobs, obviously you can't can't make money running a business if you're doing 3 jobs. But the point is, I'm looking to sharpen up my repair skills. Even though I run a business, you know, you can never be too you can never be too educated, I don't think. I've had this graphics card staring at me for months. At some point I'll give it a go. I've not really got any experience with GPUs and so on. So it's all about just sort of learning, getting the repair message spread further and making sure as many people are fixing as many things as possible. And at least if you don't fix the stuff, then you know someone who can. Anyway then, what I've got in the future is an Xbox 360. I end up jailbreaking it, making it work with a computer power supply instead of a regular power supply. I upgrade the hard drive in there. It's a really cool one. And then the other one is a computer that I found. I won't tell you where I found it because that sort of spoils some of the surprise if anyone actually cares. But the point is, I find this computer, I managed to get it repaired, and it's not really refurbished, but repaired and cleaned up, and then it's currently at my dad's flat working as a Jellyfin server, so that one works out nicely as well. Stay tuned for all of that. For the final time, I hope you enjoyed what you watched. I'll see you in the next one. Take care for now, and goodbye.